Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Today we're going to be looking at the new cards featured within Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's The Anime episode 44. Keep in mind that not all of these cards will actually be introduced, some of them may in time be released, others may simply be kept within the anime. King's Arrogance is a normal trap card with the requirement you can activate when a monster your opponent controls declares a direct attack by sending one monster. It must be a fiend type from the hand to the graveyard. The effect, the attacking monster loses 100 attack times the level of the monster sent to the graveyard for this card's requirement until the end of the turn. I don't like the design of this card. It's very useless for what it can do. Firstly, it requires your opponent's monster to go into a direct attack, so that's a condition in and of itself. Secondary problem is you do have to send a specific type of monster. It must be a fiend type, so it's not like it can be splashed in any style of deck. The effect as well is very weak. Had it been based on the original attack of the monster sent, I would have said this is a decent card, but based on the levels, it's not going to be that useful. Think of it this way, if you send something like a summoned skull from your hand to the graveyard, not only are you paying the discard cost, but it's only reducing that opponent's monster's attack by 600 points. Not enough to make that big of a difference, and really not going to end the game well for you if this is a card you're going to rely on. Prison Island and Go Rock is a field spell card with the requirement there isn't one. The effect is, while this card is face up in the field zone, neither player can tribute summon monsters that are level 5 or level 6. It's a version of Master of Restrict, but it's specific towards level 5 and level 6 monsters. Depending on the style of deck you're running and what your opponent is running, this might not really affect you if you're running, say, mid-tier monsters and high-level monsters and not, as such, the kind of middling between the two. So it's actually quite useful, but if your opponent isn't running either of these types of monsters as well, then it's really a wasted draw and a wasted activation. It says here in the notes that this card is apparently named the Condemned, and it has a kanji towards it. The katakana part of its name might be a reference to Anago, a drama about the difficulties of office ladies in Japan. It also, in general, means older sister, both literally and figuratively. And it lastly refers to the Rock, the nickname of the famous island prison, Alcatraz, while also locking down tribute summons. I think this card would have been more useful if that had just completely locked away tribute summons, even if it had been yours and your opponent's. But because it only really targets level 5 and level 6, it's very conditional. Sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can just be a dead draw. Mystery Handcuffs is a normal trap card with a requirement you can activate when your opponent normal summons a monster. The effect, to choose one face-up monster your opponent controls, while that face-up monster cannot be used for a tribute summon. So this locks down your opponent's monsters from being used for tribute summons. It's an okay effect, but it is very limited. More from the point of you're not really restricting your opponent that heavily, especially since you can normal summon multiple times. So long as you've got the cards necessary in your hand, you can easily out this effect. It also mentions as part of the notes that it's meant to reference an old normal monster called Mystery Hand. For anyone who isn't aware, it is a very weak monster. I think it's like a level 2, and it's got something along the lines of about 500 attack and defense. It's not even that strong a reference. I think it's only just because of the picture on the card art. And the final card is Vice Jacker. This is a level 8 dark attribute machine type effect monster with 1500 attack and defense. The requirement, you can activate by paying 1000 life points. And the effect is to choose one face-up monster. Must be a level 8 dark attribute monster you control. That monster can attack twice this turn. The good thing about this card is it actually uses itself as the effect target, so it's not like you have to have 2 level 8 monsters to be able to use this. It is incredibly weak, it only has 1500 attack, but I am sure there are probably examples out there within Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's and Rush Duels itself which meet these conditions, and probably some near enough broken strategies for the time being that could actually make use of the double attack. Of the number of cards that have been introduced, none of them particularly challenges me or considers them to be game-breaking in any way. Whilst I can understand the route these cards are going around, mostly trying to restrict your opponent's plays, it does have the same double effect where it harms you as well. And many of these cards won't see any competitive play. What cards do you prefer out of this list, and which ones do you think are a bit trash? Leave those comments down below, like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content.